Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today, we're jumping into some Tales from Tech Support. Before we start today's Would You Rather question, would you rather work for Michael Scott or work for Mr. Burns? Let me know in the comment section down below. Our first story today comes to us from Nightworm. 2 hours from anywhere. Let's jump right in. Early in my IT career, I was a systems and network administrator at a medium-sized company with a 5-state-wide regional territory. The IT department was quite small, and I was the only real technically capable member of the department. The head of IT and my other colleague were more on the database and business analytics side. Since this story happened a number of years ago, I'm going to embellish some conversational parts for the sake of storytelling. Some of the exact conversation is a little hazy, but the details of what happened are likely etched in my memory forever. Also, keep in mind, some of the details, like exact indicator light colors, are probably a little hazy too. The network was originally a fairly simple one, with a single hub and spoke of regional sites connected by bonded T1s using MPLS. One of my first network projects was to upgrade the LAN infrastructure at each site with the eventual goal of implementing a more robust network. The company decided to invest in technology and wanted a wireless network, voice over IP phones, VPN connections, and faster connectivity between the regional sites. Now, at the time of this story, wireless networks and voice over IP phones weren't nearly as common as they are today. It wasn't bleeding edge or anything, but it just wasn't everywhere. Our story starts on the morning I left for the third site to have its network equipment upgraded. The first site to get the upgrade was the hub site at our corporate headquarters. The upgrade went great and had been quite stable for several weeks. I felt pretty comfortable moving ahead with each site's upgrade. I left around 6 a.m. with an arrival time planned for 10:30 a.m. At a little before 8 a.m., my cell phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID and it came up as the corporate office. I didn't generally take support calls by cell phone, so I was a little nervous that someone would be calling me this early and on a travel day. Of course, I answered, and the voice of the head of IT, my boss, came across the airwaves. "Hey, where are you at?" "About 2 hours from corporate and about 2.5 hours from the destination site." "Oh, I was hoping you hadn't left yet or were close by. The whole network is down." "Well, I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. I'm not turning around. So let's talk through some initial troubleshooting steps. With any luck, maybe we can resolve it together. Otherwise, you may have to wait until I get to my destination." Now, like I said, the boss wasn't very technical with systems or networks. He wouldn't have been my first choice for boots on the ground, but as I was hurtling along at 65 miles per hour with nothing but him and my phone between me and the outage, it was the best I was going to get. I just hoped it would end up being something simple and I wouldn't have to walk him through an SSH session or anything like that. Okay, let's start with power. Go down to the closet, data center, and verify everything has power. "Okay, I'll call you back from down there." I hang up and my mind starts going through the possibilities. 5 minutes later, my phone rings again. The boss was calling back. "Okay, I think everything has power. Are any of the UPSs beeping, and does everything have blinky lights and whirring fans?" "No beeping from anything, and everything looks like it has lights." Well, so much for the first easy option. Okay, let's start with the core switch. It's in the first rack and has vendor name on it. What did the lights look like? "I think I found it. It has the sticker core switch 1/0 and core switch 1/1. Yep, that's it. The lights are green and blinking all at different times." Okay, well that's good, but if the entire network is down, it's not really what I might expect. Did you verify that all of the different site areas were down? The data center, a term very loosely used here, had the core switches, distribution switches for both the site and the server network, and access switches for one part of the site, including IT. Other parts of the site had IDFs with access switches for those areas. No, not really. Let me call you back." Well, now things seemed a little fishy. I hung up and about 10 minutes later, I get the call back. "What did you find out?" "Well, it's still a little early and very few people are in the office, but everyone else seems to be just fine." So the original panic call about everything down was just a bit of Chicken Little. My first question probably should have been along these lines, but live and learn. So is anything down? The IT department is. Well, that's a little strange. When did you notice it? Just after I came into work and got my coffee. I sat down to check my email, and I had no network connection. Okay, so look for the switch that has a tag on it, second floor access 1/0. What do the lights look like on that one? They're the same as the core switch. Oh, no, wait. There's a solid amber light on one of them. Now, at this point, something fishy was definitely going on. You know how you get a feeling about what the issue might be? There's no solid reason for the idea other than past experiences and the feeling that the universe is about to get a big laugh at your expense. Yeah, so I was getting one of those feelings. That's strange. It really feels like BPDU Guard has squashed a port, but there's no reason for that to happen. I mean, we've removed the vast majority of those little sub-switches that used to be everywhere. Unless something is faulty, I wouldn't think there would be any reason for BPDU Guard to kick in. Now, for those of you not in networking, I'll explain BPDU Guard momentarily. However, for the sake of a little background, whoever built the original network prior to me had installed a few large managed switches in the, data center, and a boatload of those little 8-port unmanaged switches. Those little things were everywhere. In fact, even years after the network upgrades, I would stumble across one that had been hiding somewhere. I have no idea how I could have missed them, but it's like they had a life of their own and very strong sense of self-preservation. Okay, so what's BPDU Guard in layman's terms? So it's a feature enabled on a switch port that watches for a rogue device. If someone were to plug in a little router like what you use at home, it would shut down the port. Those devices don't play nicely with the big enterprise-grade switches, and so they get squashed. But there's no reason one of those devices would be on our network. I'm thinking it could be some type of an unmanaged switch I missed, or something gone faulty. It makes sense for the symptoms, but not really for how smooth everything has been for the past few months with the new equipment. Oh, hey, let me call you back in a few minutes. Okay, sure. He hangs up, and I'm driving myself crazy trying to think of a different reason for what he's describing to me. It just doesn't make sense. I'll need to have him SSH into the switch so I can check the logs for anything unusual. I'm not thrilled to do that over the phone, but it's either that or wait for a few hours until I arrive at my destination. Just as I'm pondering the universe and my place in it, the phone rings again. So I think I found it, and I think it should be fixed now, but it's still not working. You found it? What was it? And how do you know? At this point, there's a very awkward silence, and I knew I was in for the universe's big laugh I mentioned earlier. The boss did something, and he didn't want to admit it. So, you know the other day when we were talking about the wireless network? Yeah. I have that new tablet, and I really couldn't wait to be able to get it on the network and show it off to some of the other executives. I thought it would be really cool if IT had its own wireless network now, before we installed the company-wide wireless. You didn't. If by didn't you mean I didn't bring in a spare router from home that had Wi-Fi capability built in, then yes, I did. I mean, it works at home. How could I know about the BPDU Guard thing? Well, you wouldn't. But that class of device just shouldn't be used on this type of network. Can't we just turn off the BPDU Guard so this will work and we can have wireless here in the IT office? No, that's not how this works. If we shut off BPDU Guard and plug in your device, it'll likely cause an actual network outage of at least some parts of the network. Let's just say those devices aren't compatible with the type of equipment we're using. So there's no way for me to get wireless here in the office? Yes, there is. Just wait for me to install the company-wide wireless like we planned. So if I've unplugged my little router, why won't my computer work again? This entire time you've been telling me the IT department was offline, it was really just your computer, wasn't it? Yeah, I guess. I plugged the router in before I went to get my coffee, and when I came back, I couldn't get my email. I let out a nice long sigh at this point. Once the switch port is squashed, we have to re-enable it administratively before it'll work again. At this point, you'll just need to wait until I get where I'm going. Other ports nearby are probably working, so you can grab a long Ethernet cable from the supply closet and just stretch it across the floor for now. You know, if we just had wireless. I guess the boss here didn't understand that you can't just completely change over a network like a flip of a switch. If you're upgrading all of your equipment, getting new network into place, you need to bring it up step by step. It made sense that OP wanted to make sure that what was done already was working properly and get that working at other sites as well so that everything could communicate together. Then, once they knew that everything was working, they'd work on those extra steps like getting wireless into the office. What I really question from this story, and a lot of other ones that we hear as well though, is how the heck was that guy the head of IT when they don't know the first thing about IT? Do me a quick favor and take a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're actually not subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. This next story comes to us from Push Rock. Are you in a darkroom that's on fire? If not, then something actually works. Let's jump right in. Longtime lurker, first time poster. A long time ago, like 20 years ago, I worked as a middle manager in a middle-sized company. Since I was the most tech-savvy person and was young and stupid, I became the de facto first, second, and third line of support, and also the company's IT manager long before I had that title and salary for real. The company had several subsidiaries in other cities, but since all subsidiaries were small, I needed to support them as well remotely. This was a business that ran 24/7, 365 days a year. And any interruption in anything costs a buttload. So any problem needed fixing ASAP. It mostly worked fine since most places were run by young people that knew computers. I also had written detailed instructions with pictures to how everything was supposed to be run, so normally not a big problem. We had two subsidiaries though that were a huge problem, and this is the tale of one of the two. All sites used the same program. The subsidiaries needed to run this program through an RDP, remote desktop window, after they connected to our server through a VPN. Yeah, I hadn't the skills to make it better at the time. In the RDP window, there was one and only one icon, and that was the program they were supposed to run. As I said, most subsidiaries had no problem with this at all, and it worked well enough. Subsidiary 1. When we acquired this subsidiary, I knew that this would be a problem. Most other subsidiaries had employees that were interested in computers, but this was a subsidiary where the manager, an older lady, had hired her own daughter and her daughter's party girl friends as the only employees. I will be clear here, this is not a gender issue. Many of the most knowledgeable persons in other subsidiaries were in fact female, but these girls at this particular subsidiary knew nothing about computers and were not interested in learning at all. They even took pride in not learning any of the geek stuff. When we brought them on as a subsidiary, I saw this upcoming problem and informed my boss about it. He didn't believe me, since we at this time never had any problems with technical issues from a subsidiary. The launch went better than expected, mostly because I lived in the city for a couple of days and worked side by side with the users, showing them exactly how it was done. After that, I relaxed and thought they knew enough to run the programs. This is just a couple of the things they managed to do in their first 6 months. 1. Called me every time they had a power outage, and since they worked right outside a huge construction site where they repeatedly dug through the cables, it happened at least once every month. They could never understand that it wasn't the computer's fault, since the computer and screen worked when the rest of the building became dark due to a UPS, and that I couldn't help them after the UPS died. 2. Managed to kick the power cord out of the computer at 5 in the morning, calling and waking me, and then insisting that all cords were connected. So I needed to travel to this city, a 4-hour round trip, go to that office, see the cord, and connect it. They explained to me that the cord was connected to the wall, since I specifically had asked about it through the phone, and that no one had explained to them that the other end actually needed to be in the computer. 3. Managed to turn off their monitor and not understand how it turned on. They called me in a panic and tears during the evening, and it took around 30 minutes before I could calm the user down enough to actually dare touch any of the buttons on the monitor, because she was afraid that she had broken the computer and touching buttons would make it worse. After those 3, I put up an extra workstation up and running, ready to take over if anything happened. The weeks after that, 3 of the girls called me crying during weird times, just telling me that nothing works. I tried to get the person to tell me what didn't work, but the person couldn't explain and just repeated that nothing works. All 3 times I needed to go to the office, 4 hours, yay, and see. Once it was the cord to the mouse that had slipped out. Once it was a Windows update that went wrong and the computer had got stuck, needed a hard reset, couldn't really fault her for that one. And the last time, she had clicked outside the RDP window somehow and didn't understand how to get back. The extra workstation, they always claimed it didn't work. When I got to their office, it always worked, and I showed them again and again that it's just to log in and start. But since they never used it, they got scared of it. After these times, I put up 2 signs, one with detailed baby instructions with pictures on how to log into the extra computer, the exact same way as the computer they already worked daily on, and an extra sign with the text, "Are you in a dark room that's on fire? If not, then something actually works. Before calling me, please think about what actually is not working so you can describe the problem." They never got better. I did get better though and actually quit. My best decision ever. The other subsidiary, maybe I will post that another day, but the problem is a combination of my fault and users with no experience. It sounds like the company held out as long as they could on giving OP the title for the job that they were already doing, because for a lot of companies, it takes a major outage and losing a lot of money to realize that they can budget in having a full-time IT person. Well, OP, I hope that the IT spending in that company is tracked very well, because you need to hit these people with excessive issues surcharges. Make sure it's known that they're causing the problems and something needs to be done about it. Check out both OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.